everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you would like, and today I have a book recommendations video for you. Specifically, I will be recommending books that fit most of the prompts for the Somberhoney 2025 Reading Challenge bingo board, whatever you want to call it. I will leave a link in the description to that announcement video down below for you guys to actually check out all of the prompts. I say that I'll be recommending books for most of them because some of them are very personal. There are things like read a book by the author of your favorite book of 2024, or read a book that the page number ends in your birth date. So not really things that I can recommend in this kind of vague format. I mean, if you want suggestions on specific prompts, you can leave that in the comments and I'll do my best to recommend books. But there are 15 prompts that I can just do in this video, and I have 3 books for each of them. Now, if you're good at math, or even if you're not great at math, that seems pretty simple, the total number of books I'll be talking about in this video is 45. So, we're just gonna get on with it, and I will do my best not to ramble about each one. So first up, we have the prompt of a prepositional phrase in the title. So the 3 books that I have recommended for you are Revelry in the Dark by me. I had to put my book on here because why not? Gotta self-promo sometimes. But you have in the dark as a prepositional phrase. We have A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy. Of Royal Blood is a prepositional phrase. And then finally, Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. With us is a prepositional phrase, so those are your first 3 recommendations. Next up, we have a book with a prime number of pages, and let me tell you, this was the hardest prompt to fulfill. I was literally going to every single book on my bookshelf and checking the page number and then Googling if that was a prime number, and it took me a while, but I did find 3. We have Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner. This is a novel that takes place in the world of the podcast, and this has 401 pages. Then we have Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This has 409 pages, so pretty close. And then we have The Night Watch by Sarah Waters, and this has 503. If those aren't prime numbers and Google lied to me, keep that to yourself. I don't want to hear it. The next prompt that we have is on a school curriculum, and genuinely you could probably fit any book in here because especially when you get to the college level, you have some pretty niche classes and you could end up reading anything for them. I have gone for some more traditional school reading requirements. They're classics, so I have 3 here that I actually read for various classes throughout high school and college. I have The Color Purple by Alice Walker, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Then we have a book with 3 or more fonts on the full spread cover, so like the back, the spine, and the front all count. First up is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, so obviously we have this font that the title and author name are in. We have this secondary font with the little #1 New York Times best-selling and National Book Award winning author, which good for Sabaa. And then down here we have the little tiny Putnam font logo, whatever you want to call it, above the penguin, and that is in fact in a 3rd font, so it's my first recommendation. Then we have A Dark and Secret Magic by Wallace Kinney. So we have the font that the title is in, then the font that her name is in, which is slightly different, but they are quite similar, and then right here you can see in this little cursive font we have a novel, and if that's not enough, we also have a little blurb up here that is in yet another font, so definitely 3 or more. And then finally, we have Break the Bodies, Haunt the Bones, which similarly has 1 font for the title, 1 font for the author's name, and then this tiny little blurb is in a 3rd font. Next up is a book whose title is a compound word, so we have my recommendations. We have Inkheart by Cornelia Funk, and actually this entire trilogy would work because the books are Inkheart, Inkspell, Inkdeath, all compound words. Then we have Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. Again, all of the titles in this series would work because it's Seafire, Steeltide, and Stormbreak. And then finally, we have Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. Also a trilogy, but I don't know the names of the other 2 books, so I don't know if the rest of the series would work, but this one does. The next prompt is a book with a non-binary protagonist or author. So my three recommendations, we have The Witch King by H.E. Edgman, we have Iron Widow by Shirin J. Zhao, which the sequel just came out recently, and I'm so excited to get my hands on it. I'm going to reread Iron Widow first, though, so maybe this will be the book that I count for this prompt. And then we do have Exquisite Corpse by me. Again, this is the only other book I'm going to recommend by myself, I promise. I'm going to show off a million other authors. But I wanted to give a shout out to Exquisite Corpse because not only am I the author non-binary, but the main character of this book is non-binary, so it doubly fits the prompt. We have now moved on to the second massive precarious stack of books that I have on my desk, and the prompt for this is an author's debut novel. So I've got my recommendations. We have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. We have Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley, which I read just a few months ago and had a really great time with. And we have Aragon by Christopher Paolini. In case you want some dragons, you get some dragons. Then we have the prompt of a number in the title. So we have 1 Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, we have The Three Musketeers, and we have Attack of the 50-Foot Wallflower. So it could be spelled out in the title, it could be numerals. Either way, it works. Next, we have the prompt of insect on the cover. So we have Dreadful Young Ladies and Other Stories by Kelly Barnhill. This is a short story collection, and it does in fact have a dragonfly on the cover. Then we have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Just this cover. The original cover has a person on it, but I think this one's better. It has a big old butterfly on it. And then finally, we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I don't have the dust jacket on it because I like this better than the dust jacket. I know some covers have an insect on it and some don't, but my naked hardcover does. It's got a little bee right there, so definitely counts. The next prompt is the last book in a series, and I don't know what series you guys are in the middle of reading, so I just went with 3 series finishers that I think are masterfully done. So we've got our little stack, or our big stack, because these are kind of big books. But we have Winter, which is the 4th and final book in the Lunar Chronicles. I think this is such a great end to the series. I was really worried about how all of the different fairy tale retellings would wrap up together, but I think it's very well done. Then we have Simply the End by Lemony Snicket. This is the 13th book in the series, and again, I was really worried about how it would wrap up because it is such a long series, but I think it's so well done, and I'm so glad to have finally gotten all of the books on my shelf because it took me a long time to thrift them, but I greatly enjoyed this series finisher. And then finally we have The Mite by Siri Petterson. This is the 3rd book in the Raven Rings trilogy, and like the first book in that series is really good, and then the second one is even better, and then this 3rd one is the best in the trilogy. Like it just keeps getting better and better, which is always a great time. Highly recommend. Alright, we are on to the last stack of books. We are in the home stretch for the prompt of the title and the author start with the same letter. You can do either the author's first or last name, but it has to be the first word of the title. In my recommendations, we have Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. Darcy and Dead start with the same letter. We have Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. Bray, Beauty, both start with a B. And then finally we have Lullabies by Lang Leave. It matches both because it's all L's, so I thought that was a fun little recommendation, and this is a poetry collection. The next prompt is another one that was kind of hard for me to find recommendations from my physical collection of books, but I did in fact find 3. This prompt is to find a book with a rhyme in the title, and it could be any kind of rhyme. It could be at the end of words, it could be an exact rhyme, it could be a slant rhyme, it could be in the middle of words. Any of that counts. It's pretty easy to like bend things to fit, so definitely make things easier on yourself. But my first recommendation is Murder Your Employer. We have Murder and Employer, but then we also have the series title is the McMaster's Guide to Homicide and Guide and Homicide rhyme. Then we have books that don't have end rhyme in the title because that was literally the only one that I could find on my shelf. We have A Deadly Education, Deadly Education, both words start with rhyming syllables. And then we have practical magic, which practical magic, they also have rhyming first syllables. So I am going to count these. And since it is my reading challenge, no one can tell me I'm wrong. The next prompt is a book with a light source on the cover. So at our stack, we have The Burning Bridge by John Flanagan. This is the second book in the Ranger's Apprentice series. I would have liked to not go with like middle books in series, but this is my favorite one of the Ranger's Apprentice, and I wanted to count it, so it has some fire on there. Then we have Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse, which does in fact have lightning on it, and it's kind of like shiny on the cover, so I think that's really fun. And finally, we have Zodiac by Romina Russell, which has a bunch of stars, so 3 different sources of light. The next prompt is a book where the title is a pun, and this might be the easiest to hold stack. So we have Paranorman, which is a play on the word paranormal and the main character's name, which is Norman. Then we have Much Ado About Nothing, which is a big old pun. I'm not going to explain it here. You can very easily Google that, and someone from the internet will explain to you how Much Ado About Nothing is a pun from Shakespearean times. It's pretty funny. And then we have Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. And finally, we come to the last prompt where I will be recommending books for you. So we have our last stack here. This prompt is a neurodivergent author or protagonist, and I could have recommended my own books, but I've gone for 3 others. We have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. Octavia E. Butler was dyslexic, which is a type of neurodivergence, and I did not know that until I was doing a little bit of research for this recommendations video. We then have Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. Mira Grant is the pen name of Seanan McGuire, and Seanan has talked about how she was diagnosed with OCD, another type of neurodivergence. And then finally, we have The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. Rick Riordan himself is not neurodivergent, but Percy Jackson and just about every other character in the series has ADHD and dyslexia, 2 different neurotypes, and I wanted to shout this out because this was originally written as a gift, I guess, for his son who has ADHD and dyslexia, and Rick wanted to show his son that there are characters like him out there, so it just makes me really happy, and I wanted to get this on the list of recommendations, so I'm glad that I could fit it in here. So there you have all of those recommendations for these different prompts. Like I said, if there are other prompts that you're having issues with and you'd like some help, just let me know in the comments and I will do my best to help you. Also, if you have your own recommendations for these prompts, let me know down in the comments because this is only 3 per prompt. It's not the be-all end-all of books that fit. It's just what I could pull from my shelves. But we've now come to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone.